The man who teach optimism, what do you feel inside?
Yeah, I teach optimism, but I'm clinically depressed myself.
Why do you think humor
It's,
changes us so deeply in psychological level?
well, it's like my grandmother told me. She said laughter is the best medicine, and now doctors are trying to find out if my grandmother was right.
Do you think laugh actually keeps us alive longer than the people who do not?
Well, even if they don't live longer, they live better.
Do you believe that gratitude and optimism are learned habits or spiritual callings?
Both. Yeah, because look, if you can be a grateful person, you're not going to be a victim.
What is your opinion on that? Is it laughter escaping from reality or coding myself for accepting reality? But I would like to hear it from you.
You're absolutely right. I lived my life running away from reality, using humor. I was lucky enough to have a good sense of humor, and this really got people angry.
What is Gestalt awareness? What is Gestalt therapy?
Gestalt simply becoming aware, as I said.
Is there anything you would like to share with the world and I haven't asked you today?
Something that, okay, the first thing that comes to my mind is what my father told me once. He said, live every day as if it's your last.
I would just like to end this podcast with your advice to all young entrepreneurs who are on that journey to create success. How do they keep positive? How do they keep being optimistic and to expect positive outcomes, even though that they may sometimes delay and happen later than we expect? Lenny Ravich, thank you so much for being today with me here. And I want to tell you that when the first time I saw your social media, I went to your website. It took me a couple of seconds to click and say, yes, this is the guest I want on my podcast. After seeing all these big names you are working with, like Coca-Cola, Marriott, Marina Bay Sands in Singapore, Google, you will name them during this podcast. But one sentence stick with me: the man who teach optimism.
Yeah. First of
What
all,
do you,
thank you for having me on your podcast. It's interesting how things just seem to happen. I never knew who you were a week ago, and then suddenly now we're like friends. You're over in Canary Islands, I'm in Tel Aviv, and we're like in the same room. And that's beautiful. That's really great. Thank you for inviting me.
It is absolutely beautiful. It's my pleasure. And the first thing I want to ask you, the man who teach optimism, what do you feel inside? Are you the person who is full of optimism and then you're teaching people simply how to be Lenny? Or there is something behind which led you to you discover optimism as a ultimate hack, I would say, for running the businesses?
I was thinking of starting out with a joke like, yeah, I teach optimism, but I'm clinically depressed myself. But which is not far from the truth. Uh, Look, I realized what negative thoughts can do to a person, to myself. I want to take myself as an example. How I got into this is that uh, negative thinking, the way you think, it interprets itself into the way you feel. If you say I'm feeling lousy tonight, just go back. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts? So I began to study optimism to sort of like change the mindset, my own mindset. It had nothing to do with teaching other people. I wasn't ready yet, and I think I got it from my mother, who who used to come to school to see my teachers a lot because I was very misbehaved. As a matter of fact, I saw my file in school. They diagnosed me as being overly happy and overly joyous. And in school in those days, back in the 40s, if you were too happy, you couldn't learn because education is supposed to be something serious. Your life is serious. selling is serious, success is serious, and that, nothing. So my mother was invited to school, and they suggested that I go to a guidance counselor. And my mother signed, and I agreed. And then I went to the guidance counselor, and she used to call me God. Every day she saw me, she would say, "Oh my God, it's you again." And my mother came to school again and again and again, and I finally got to see a psychiatrist. I don't want to get into that. And I was only 11 years old. But I came home one day with a terrible report card. At the end of the year, you get your report. And I was really under stress. And I saw what that stress was doing to me. I saw that, I know that I'm going to be disappointing my parents. I was under stress. They want me to succeed. It had an awful impact on my body, on my mind, on my mood. And the moment I got home, I handed her the report card, and she says, "Thank you," and she puts it in her purse. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she says, "This is my report card because I'm in school more than you." And she made me laugh. I'm in school more than you. She tried to tell me, don't take life so seriously. She didn't even look at the report card. It was more important for her to tell the joke, I'm in school more than you. That was my mother's way of saying, get out of it. Stay out. Don't take things seriously. Look at life as it's a movie. Buy popcorn. Sit in the third row. Watch your movie. Don't get involved. It's a movie. Everything that happens today is happening for a reason. So I brought that mindset to my children. It didn't become a profession or writing books until I saw what an effect it had on my family. If I'm going on too long, stop me. But if you say, Lenny, okay.
No, keep going. You're opening. Give me so many different questions. Keep going.
Okay, so my son was 14 years old, my eldest son, and he stole my car, which is no surprise to me because I stole my father's car, which is no surprise to him because I'm sure he stole his father's horse. So I had a banged up old Ford. I couldn't afford a better car, a very secondhand, third hand, because I was a teacher at that time and I wasn't making very much money. So it was an old car and he stole it and he took all his friends and he doesn't have a driver's license. And they had about 12 people in the car, like a barrel of monkeys. And the police stopped him and he ran through the police barrier. And the police chased him, boom, boom, and the red lights and everything. And they pull him out of the car and they take him to prison. I got a call at 2:30 in the morning. Your son is in detention. I go down there to go talk to him. And I get permission to see him. And I see him behind bars. And I'm looking at him. And he is the same person I was when I was bringing my report card to my mother. He was depressed. He was scared. What's my father going to say? He must be disappointed in me. And I looked through the bars and I said, Nati, his name is Nati, aren't you ashamed? Who gives a car chase in a broken down old third-hand Ford? You're not coming home until you steal a Lamborghini. And he broke up in laughter. I broke up in laughter. And when we did that, that chemistry in the body, the endorphins from your brain take over your body and release all the pain, physical and mental. It just released all the pain. And it's also a way of bonding with a person. I bonded with my mother. I bonded with my father over laughter. I can go into that later. And I bonded with my son. And I was actually giving him the same message my mother gave me. Life is not to be taken too seriously. You can take your work seriously, but never take yourself seriously. And like she said, buy a bag of popcorn, sit in the third row, eat your popcorn, and watch the movie. You know, the things going around the world, like we talked before, what's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in the Middle East. And I live in the Middle East. And
Yeah.
people are actually physically killing themselves by worrying and taking things so seriously. And I sort of step out of that and go into what is called the witness. I witness things I don't feel that much. And when people say, what is my opinion about something? My answer is, I once had an opinion and it was the worst day of my life. If you have no opinions, you're good. You're cool. Don't have an opinion. Because if you have an opinion, you're not going to be open to other ideas. And to watch people speak who believe the opposite from you, no matter how much it pains you, stay there, watch the movie, eat the popcorn, and don't get into the movie. It's not you. It's not about you, and we can get into that subject later.
That's very interesting what you're saying because I have here a couple of studies, and University of Oxford in 2011 said that laughter release endorphin and reduce cortisol and increase pain tolerance by 10 to 15%.
Yeah.
And what you're saying, science confirms as well. So why do you think humor
It's,
changes so deeply in psychological level?
well, it's like my grandmother told me. She said laughter is the best medicine, and now doctors are trying to find out if my grandmother was right. Now the endorphins not only kill pain, they release pressure and hardships. It also protects our immune system. I once read a book by Bernie Siegel. He wrote Love, Medicine, and Miracles. He's a doctor, and he examines people, their mood, and how that affects their health. And he came up with one sentence. He said, generally, happy people don't get sick. And the people who are thinking negatively when they are sick don't make it back as well as the optimists and the ones who have friends and they can joke and laugh. It's not in all cases, but it has an effect on how long we live, how powerfully we live, what effect does it have on our relationships, our marriage. First of all, I'm 89 years old, and I'll talk about that later. How I deal with that. There's a lot. There's a, there's a,
That's
there's a lot to deal with there, and I'm also married for 60 years.
congratulations
And
to that. This is amazing, by the way.
how long have you been married?
I married for 7 years, so I
7.
7, yeah. So I look like a baby towards you.
Well, you've got a great future behind you, and so you need a lot of humor to deal with marriage of 60 years. I told my wife in the beginning, I said, you're perfect. And she said, how come you said that? I said, because if you're not perfect, I'm going to suffer. And I don't want to suffer anymore. So why should I find problems with you that make me suffer? I'll just make you, in my mind, perfect. Everything you do is perfect.
Yeah, you sound like a man who is too much taking care of your own fortress, of your mind. And this is beautiful because people who laugh frequently have 40% lower risk of heart disease. And Norwegian University of Science and Technology in 2016 proved that. And they said that it helps in longevity. Do you think laugh actually keeps us alive longer than the people who do not?
Well, even if they don't live longer, they live better.
That's for sure. That's for sure. 100%.
if you allow me at some time during this meeting that we're having today, I can teach you and your listeners or viewers how to cause yourself to laugh. If there's nothing to laugh about, why just laughing? The actual physical scientific technology of it, I can teach you right now.
Go
Which
ahead.
would really?
Absolutely.
Okay. And I'll tell you why I do this. And I tell you why I do this every day. And as people who are in sales, before they make their calls or before they make any contact with people, before they go to any networking, my opinion is that they could take this, what I'm teaching now, as a tool to come to another person with much more sunshine, much more light, good feeling, so that when people look at you, they feel better. So I will teach you now a laughter that is called chakra laughter. Are you okay with this on this stage?
Yes, absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling fine. Perfect.
Great. You better.
Excited.
Okay. Good. Great. Um, there are chakras on our body. I don't know if you ever heard the word chakra. It's it's a Sanskrit word which means power point. There's a point here in our throat that is called a chakra. It has power. And here in our chest, we'll just those two. There are 8, but I don't want to take too much time, so we'll just 2. Now, laughing from here or laughing from your heart are 2 different energies that clear the way. In other words, if this is called our communication. The heart is the compassion and the empathy. So if I ask you now to take your hand and put it on your throat,
Okay.
and I'm going to invite anybody who is watching this to do the same and feel the energy going from your hand, the energy going into your throat, because we're about to open the throat chakra. And probably you can feel it, maybe you don't. But the first thing you do is smile. Even if you don't feel like it, you go, see? Right, smile. Let me see your teeth. There you go. Right now, you're changing the chemistry in your body. Okay, now we're going to make a sound, a laughter from here that will clean the throat chakra. It sounds like this. I invite you to join me. Now take a deep breath. Deep breath as deep as you can.
Okay.
And say, ah. Take another deep breath, really very deep. And say, ah. Great. You did a great job. That's the throat chakra. We'll do one more, and then we'll discuss it. We'll discuss how you feel, if you feel any different now than you did before, but we'll do that later. I invite you to take your hand and put it on your heart.
Okay.
And try to feel the energy coming from your hand to your heart. Okay, you might be able to do that. All right. And you smile again. And the laughter here is different than the throat. The throat was, the heart is, I invite you to join me.
Okay.
And you take a nice deep breath, take a nice, very long, deep breath. Breathe out. Ah. Take a nice, long, deep breath. Ah. Nick, I'm going to tell you why I do this every day. But before that, I'd like to know how you and the people who are watching this are feeling right this moment. And if there's any difference how you feel now than you did when we first began, I would like to hear from you. By the way, I can see the change in you.
Yeah,
You've
I
got
feel
more.
I feel more energetic and I feel like happier after this. And I must tell you that you're smiling very cute. And yeah, like I can understand scientifically from where it comes from, because we definitely provocate certain hormones in our brain to cause certain chemical reactions and to inspire ourselves. And this is actually a very beautiful thing. How long have you been doing this routine?
Well, it took. I can't stop laughing now. You know, because it's like there's a film. If you want to see YouTube, just a short clip. It's called Subway Laughter,
I'll
and
check it out.
have you seen it?
No, I will check it out.
Okay, a guy comes on the subway. Nobody knows anybody. You know, people on their phones, they're reading, they're sleeping, and he looks at his phone and he goes, and by 10 seconds, 12 seconds, he's got the whole subway. People who doesn't know, okay, never met them before, all of a sudden come to life, and they're all laughing. So it's called Subway Laughter, something like that. You can watch many clips like that where it just energy that goes from one person to another. Now, why did I say that it's important also for me? Let's say before I even came to this podcast, or I'm going out to meet people or make sales or whatever, I'm going to meet my grandchildren or something. I at 89, I have a sentence that I say to myself when I'm looking at the mirror in my elevator. I get in my elevator and there's a mirror. And I look at the mirror and I go, I'm still here. I'm 89 and I'm still here.
That's actually a very good one, Lenny.
Now, when I leave the elevator, I'm already in a different energy. People can see my energy. I see yours. I
Yeah,
see you
absolutely.
change. Really, I see the change. It's amazing. I see your face has more color in it. You have more life in you. You have more exhilaration. You know, before your face was a little lighter, and now it's got color to it, and you're much more attractive. And
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm falling in love with you. But anyway, but that laughter in the morning before I go anywhere, it just signals to people,
It,
you can't ruin my day.
it
And
set you
I'm
up, and this is very good frame. This is very good frame for the very
energy.
beginning. Yeah,
You
absolutely.
you become the sunshine of the world, and people love you, and people want to be near you. Nobody wants to be next to a drag. You want to be next to a person who's giving life, being
A hun-
authentic.
100%. And I want to ask you here something very interesting. I was looking a lot of studies when it comes to optimism, laughing, and the energy setup, and I found out that children laugh around 300 times a day, while adults laugh less than 20. Can you give me a bit of context why it's like that? Do we forget how to laugh being grown up, or we too much let problems and environment hit us and surround us, because this is actually something you're very actively teaching to all those big companies and their teams we mentioned at the very beginning. So how do you see that, and why it's like that? Why we basically go like, let's say, 10x or even more, 15x down with the number of laughs during the day as an adult?
I once read a sentence by one of the people I really respect. His name is Madan Kataria, and he's from India, and he's a doctor. And he teaches laughter because he feels that it helps people more than the pills he gives them. You know, if a person comes in and says, I'm not feeling very well psychologically, the doctor gives him a pill, and he takes all these people to the park and teaches them to laugh. And his one sentence, which answers the question that you asked me, why is it that children laugh so much? And then when you get to be adult, the amount of laughter goes down. And I asked him, I said, what is it? He said, they go to school.
Hmm.
I said, that's it? He said, yeah,
School.
before school, they're laughing. When they get to school, if they laugh, they get punished. You know, you don't laugh at the teacher, you don't laugh in class, you don't speak, you can't be human, you can't have an authentic feeling. Anything that takes away from the lesson that the teacher is trying to teach. And you laughed, go to the office right now. I want you to see
Oh yeah.
the you know.
I
So
grew up in such a school, like where laugh equals some sort of disrespect. Are you laughing at me?
yeah, right,
So
right. Well, there is a difference, laughing at me and laughing with me. But what happens is children learn. There's called a thing called learned optimism, and there's a thing called learned helplessness and learned victimhood. You learn it, and
mhm.
these children learn either to laugh, or they learn not to laugh, or they learn how to be victims, or they learn how to be helpless, and it's unfortunate. And my wife loves to laugh, and I try to do it as much as possible because she can have anxiety even just driving the car,
Mhm.
and wow, why did he do that? And my previous humor she didn't like. She would say, why did he do that? So I would take out my telephone. I'd say, I'm going to call him right now and find out why he did it. And she didn't like that because she thought I was making fun of her. And she called me very cynical. You're cynical.
Yes.
So what I do is I sympathize with her. A motorcycle goes by, scares her. And so she says, why did he do that? And I said, you're right. It's crazy. And then she says, these roads, I can't, they're so small. And I said, well, you're living in the Middle East, and these roads were built for camels and donkeys. So just imagine that we're on a camel, and there's a donkey over at the intersection waiting for us to go by. And just that image of a donkey waiting for a camel to go by, she almost she almost lost control of the wheel from laughter, and that immediately broke her tension, her anxiety. And one of the reasons her anxiety bothered me is because I'm an anxious person. I'm filled with anxiety, and somebody else's anxiety wakes up
You
the
are an anxiety.
anxiety,
Yeah.
my anxiety. So take it easy, cool it down. That's why when people say I'm in pain, or we try to say something that will calm them down. What we're trying to do is calm ourselves down because we're feeling their pain, and that sort of stops our empathy for them.
Lenny, you
Like
said here, uh, it's a very big difference between laughing with me and laughing on me.
at me, yeah.
Give me a context of that, please, and how do you see that? Very interesting to see.
Well, I just gave an example with my wife where I laughed at her
Mm,
by picking up the phone
okay.
and saying, I'm going to talk to the driver. Why did he do that? That was me trying to deal with my anxiety. So I use my humor to avoid certain feelings. Once I realized that that was not making her any more close to me, it was driving her away from me, I became more empathetic
Hmm.
and said, yeah, I can understand that. But look, let's take a look. These roads are built for camels and donkeys. Now we're both laughing. I'm not laughing at her. We're both laughing at the image of the donkey walking and the camel waiting for the donkey to go by. I'm on the, no, we're on the camel wait and the donkey is waiting for us. So that image is, and I got the image and she got the image and she started to laugh and I started to laugh. That's laughing with. The first way was laughing at.
Interesting. For people who yet don't know, they can see behind you Everlasting Optimism. This is your book. And
May I show it?
yes, you can, absolutely. And I want to speak something about
You
that.
can get this on Amazon.
Definitely, I will put the link down for people to get it. But people who practice daily gratitude and positive reflection show that 25% higher life satisfaction they have just after 10 weeks. And this is the study Robert Emmons, UC Davis in 2003 discovered. You speak about everlasting optimism. Do you believe that gratitude and optimism are learned habits or spiritual callings?
Both.
Both, yeah?
Yeah, because look, if you can be a grateful person, you're not going to be a victim.
Yeah.
There are people living, victim. Why this happened to me? Look what he did to me. There's a lousy boss, that son of a gun. They're living in. It's never me. It's all about them doing to me.
Yeah, that's a victim
But
mindset.
so if you're in a constant state, I'm talking about something that you have to learn. That I teach groups that staying in a grateful state that everything that happens. In other words, you make the sale or you didn't make the sale. Somebody said something bad to you or somebody hurt your feelings. I'm grateful that that happened because I'm here on this earth to learn two things: how to love more deeply and how to expand my wisdom. If I go into victim, I'm not doing anything good for myself. But if I stay in a state of grace, which means thanking, some people believe in God or Jesus or Allah or whatever they want to call it, or it could be just the cosmos. Thank you constantly, constantly. Thank you for this breath that I'm taking. Thank you for this moment. This is the best moment because there is no other moment. You've given me a moment. I have a choice what to do with this moment. I choose to say thank you for this moment. I'm going to swim. I get into the water. Thank you for the cold water around my body. It helps me live in the here and now and not live in the past and not live in the future. Because you're living in the past, you're causing yourself severe trouble. You're thinking about all the mistakes that you made and all the stupid stuff you did. Everybody, I'm talking to everybody now because I do it all the time. But the secret here is becoming aware. I teach awareness. I am a Gestalt therapist. So my main goal is making people aware of what they're doing in their heads. And I lie down, I meditate, and all this junk, I mean garbage, starts coming into my mind. I can't sleep, I can't rest. And then I ask myself the question, by being um, mindful or being aware, I have a choice. I can choose to think something else. I could say to myself, why am I thinking that? Is that helping me? Is that bringing me forward? Is that making me healthier? If not, I'm not going to think about that. I'm going to think about something else. Just being aware of what you're thinking, how you're feeling, making it a choice to be grateful, I think is the recipe, yes, absolutely, for any beginner who studies optimism. Another way of looking at it is something I learned from a man by the name of Jack Canfield. You know, when you're selling something, you want to do two things. You want to listen very, very deeply to the person opposite. You don't want to talk. The less you talk, the more you listen, the more you find out what that person needs. Okay? You're interested in what that person needs, not in what you sell. You're interested in improving that person's life. You're interested in giving value to that person. So if I ask, what is your main goal for the next 5 years? And you tell me, I go into my files and I say, I think I can help you. I offer it. He doesn't take it. I go to somebody else. They don't take it. I go to somebody else. They don't take it. I go to somebody else. They take it. This is a formula that people can learn right now. It's a formula. It's called SW, 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 4SW. The first SW is some will. Some will take it. The next SW is some won't.
Mhm.
The third SW is so what? And the fourth SW is someone is waiting to take it. So if I throw the ball at the basket and it doesn't go in, I'm not going to shoot myself. I throw it again. I throw it again. Okay, boom, it goes in. 1 out of 10 goes in. So if I'm going to somebody and I'm making a pitch and I say, I think I can help you, and they don't take it, I say, thank you. Because by saying no, I'm grateful because you're bringing me closer to the person who's going to say yes. So no, 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 thank you. No, thank you. Boom, I made it. Just keep going on. You're just being consistent. That's another way of looking at optimism, knowing that some won't, but at the end there will be someone is waiting. And I know people, Jack Canfield himself, who sold a series called Chicken Soup for the Soul, hundreds of millions of, really, 120 million copies. He went to 129 publishers to try to sell his book, and 129 said no.
Wow.
And his partner said, let's forget about it. He said, no, let's do one more, 130. And that person took it. And they said, now we have to not sell it. The word is more get it out to the world. Market it. How do we market it? Some way is to do workshops. You have a platform. You give. Or this. I'm talking to you now, and this is one way to market my book.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so in marketing and in sales, that's the formula. SW, 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 SW.
Love it. He's, by the way, one of the person who give beautiful testimonial on your website, and I read it, and that's very nice to see this connection with him. Lenny, some people will say nowadays that with laughter, you're trying to escape reality. And probably this is the obstacle number one you're facing when it comes to your expertise and coaching implementation of your strategies. How do you see that? And what is your opinion on that? Is it laughter escaping from reality, or is probably in my mind, I would call it like coding myself for accepting reality, but I would like to hear it from you.
You're absolutely right. I lived my life running away from reality using humor. I was lucky enough to have a good sense of humor, and this really got people angry because they thought that I was taking them too lightly. But it was my way. It was my way of running away. If a person was angry at me, I couldn't contain their anger, so I would make a joke. Or if somebody was scared, their feeling of fear connected with mine, so I would tell a joke just to get out of the reality. I got to a point when I began to study Gestalt, which I now teach, to get in touch with those feelings of fear, of anger, and accepting them and being authentic and actually saying, I'm angry right now. I didn't know about feelings until I was about 50 years old. So what you're saying is absolutely true. For 50 years, I used humor to run away until I got to the point where I was miscommunicating with people who are the closest to me. And when I got to Gestalt and I realized that if I get into my feeling and accept my feelings, that I can empathize with the person who's angry at me and stay there and stay with the anger. They're angry at me. They're yelling at me. Okay, I'll give you an example. I was on the bus the other day, and I was sitting next to a extremely mature person, which is another word for old, which I am. And he said to me, "You hit me with your bag." And I could feel, I mean, when you become aware, when you become mindful, you can feel in your body all the emotions. You can feel the love, you can feel fear, you can feel happiness, you can feel sad. It's not terrible to feel sad. Sad is part of life. And I could feel the anger in my chest. And my first reaction was to scream back at him. You don't like it? Take a taxi. But I had a choice because my awareness gave me more and better choices.
Absolutely.
So I said, instead of running away by using humor, I used humor to connect, which was I took my bag and I bitch slapped it. And I said, "You're a naughty bag. Tell the old man you're sorry." That way I could apologize and be in empathy with him that he was angry, but at the same time make him smile.
Yeah, I love it. It's absolutely unexpected outcome for him to receive from you
Well,
in such a situation.
Well, your question is it running away from reality? The answer is yes. There's another answer. Stop. Learn what you're feeling. Learn where you're feeling it is in your body. Choose another way. I want to give you another formula if you don't mind. Do we have time?
We have time.
Okay. The formula is E plus R equals O. This is from Jack Canfield that I learned from him. E plus R equals O. The E is the event. I'm in the bus with this guy. This is an event. He screams at me. Now we got the plus R. The R is my response, how I choose to respond. This equals outcome. E plus R equals O. I get the outcome because of my response. So if I would scream back at him and he would scream back at me, everybody on the bus would say, "Will you two old farts sit down and shut up?" But instead, my response brought a different outcome. But you're absolutely right. I chose all my life to run away because I didn't have the awareness and the mindfulness to accept what I was feeling. In my family, there was no feeling. Even if you felt anything, you were punished for it. If you were angry, how could you be angry at me after all I've given you? So you push that down. You get to be sad or cry. what are you crying about? I'll give you something to cry about. Stop being a sissy. So you push that one down. So, you learn how to not feel and you learn how to run away from feelings until one day, full stop, I began learning about what I'm feeling and how not to run away, but to accept and be empathetic with the person who is either scared or angry or sad or happy or whatever.
Interesting, because some statistics which I'm having here is that 77% of employees experience regular stress at workplace, and only 1 in 5 believe that their leaders create positive atmosphere. You have been working with such a big companies, and I will name them again, like Google, Coca-Cola, Marina Bay Sands, Marriott Hotel. Why do you think humor disappear the higher people climb in their leadership?
Well, I don't know that that's true. How do you know that's true?
I believe that somehow, based on my experience of people whom I spoke with, I believe that they think that their status and the way people look at them will be higher and will be merging with the status they are doing in the company level of hierarchy on the leadership level due to their seriousness.
Yeah.
Because we very rarely can see such a big leaders to be such a funny, like Elon Musk, for example, dancing on the stage.
The richest guy in the world is laughing, and these people are trying to be serious. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely. So my question to you is, why do you think humor disappears at higher hierarchy on the leadership level? And do you have that feeling working for those companies?
Look, there's a thing that has been bothering me all my life, which is called ego.
Mm-hmm.
And it's narcissism. I mean, we all are narcissists. The question is, how toxic is that narcissism, or how do you use it in order to be able to balance it? Look, you're talking about people going a higher status to become a leader, and they think they have to be serious for people to take them seriously. Okay, I went through the same thing. I was a teacher, and then I became a supervisor, and I became unfunny because I wanted people to take me seriously. And that was the biggest mistake I ever made. And also, when Avi wrote to me, my partner in Singapore, he said, I want you to come to Singapore because people here are so wealthy. It's such a wealthy country.
Yeah.
And it's so successful that people aren't happy anymore. You have a country, Malaysia, where they barely have 3 meals a day. It's like 10 minutes away, and they're so happy. You have people living on the streets that are happier than the people who can afford to have a maid for their children, a maid to wash the car, a maid to something happens to you the higher you go. And it doesn't need to happen. With Elon Musk, it didn't happen. With a lot of great leaders, they have become more humorous. Richard, the Virgin Airlines, what's his name?
Richard Branson, yeah.
Okay, he's funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's the whole thing. We think that we have to be serious to succeed, and they know that they have to take life lightly to succeed, and make everybody feel comfortable with their humor, which says I'm human too. If you go around feeling, I gotta show seriousness, people can't get close to you. People have to get close to you because you're intimate. Being humorous is being intimate. And intimacy, in my interpretation, is into me see. I'm transparent. I'm laughing. You can laugh with me. It's no big deal. All the big shots, the billionaires. Donald Trump is one of the funniest guys I've ever seen. I mean, this guy could make, if he didn't make money doing what he could have gone to a nightclub and been a stand-up comic.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, he's a clown, totally a clown.
Absolutely. Lenny, this is very beautiful what you're speaking here. But I found out somewhere that you was speaking a little bit touching the topic of Gestalt therapy. And I would like if you can break down in a very simple words what is Gestalt awareness, what is Gestalt therapy, and how will you describe it in as simple as possible sentence so that all of us can understand it?
Well, you told me about this podcast. I said, how long do we have?
Yeah.
And I said, I have a meeting in 45 minutes with one of my clients. I work with people on
Okay.
the Gestalt simply is number one, becoming aware. As I said, it comes through dialogue. You're dialoguing, and I don't say to you, do this, do that. I never say should. I say, I notice that you have your hand here like this.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I do is I notice this, I notice that, I notice that. And when I said that, you became aware.
Absolutely.
Okay? And the phenomenon of Gestalt is staying in the here and now. You don't talk about your past. You don't talk about your future unless it really comes up in the now. If it comes up in the now. So a person comes and says, you want to hear about my childhood? No, I absolutely do not. Don't bore me for an hour. Let's stay in the here and now, you and me, together. Martin Buber wrote this book called I, Thou. It's a very, very good book on how to work in Gestalt because you're just staying with the person. You're totally transparent. You're totally focused on that person. You're not going anywhere. You're not thinking about anything else. You're staying in the here and now. Even when people ask me, how are you? My answer is, now is my best moment because there is no other moment but now. So you stay with that person, and as a result, they start to heal. They start to heal because they see they have options. Why are people always angry at me? This happened with me. And I found out that I was doing a thing called double promising. I would promise a person I would be someplace at 8:30, and somebody else would call and say, Paul McCartney, a concert, I got 2 tickets. I would call that person and cancel. I would cancel. And people were getting angry. And I didn't find out until I went to therapy that I was double promising. And I said, I'm not doing that anymore. So Gestalt therapy number one is in the here and now, dialogue, authenticity, transparency, and staying in the here and now and becoming aware. Yeah, that's about it. It took me years to learn it.
That's very interesting. Lenny, for the very end, because I know that respect your time, you have to go soon. I want to ask you, is there anything you would like to share with the world and I haven't asked you today?
Something that, okay, the first thing that comes to my mind is what my father told me once. He said, live every day as if it's your last, because one day you're going to be right.
Yeah.
And this happened with me and my wife. We were on a vacation in Turkey, a place called Bodrum. It's a summer resort. And she kept on talking about Pamukkale. Let's go to Pamukkale. And I said, where is Pamukkale? And she said, this is Turkey. It's not a small country. And she says, it's 13 hours by bus there and 13 hours by bus back, but it's an amazing place. I said, I'm not coming. And she said, why? And I said, because today is my last day. And I don't feel like dying on a bus. So she said, where do you feel like dying today? I said, next to the pit, next to the pool, with a cold glass of beer. And if the angel of death doesn't tap me on my shoulder, I'm going to order maybe some, I don't know what you call it over there. We call it chips, French fries. Uh, you want fries, whatever you call them. I'm going to have fun today because today's my last day. Having fun. Talking to you is fun. Just seeing you is fun. This is my last day, and this is what I want to do. So if I'm doing something that I don't want to do and it's my last day, it's crazy. It's crazy. Today's the last day.
That's interesting. It's an interesting story. And I'm positioning myself like saying, okay, I don't want to do certain things because I want to enjoy every single day as the last one. That's interesting philosophy behind that. And well, it shows in your case that it works very well because you're a very positive person, and I could feel that even before the podcast when we were speaking. We live in the society where young people are now more than ever able to create such a big success. But at the same time, so many people on their journey forget to enjoy, forget to laugh. And we were speaking about that situation where just recently, the day before we record this, a 24-year girl asked Stephen Bartlett, the creator of the show, The Diary of CEO, when did you become millionaire? And he said at my 24th. And she said, I'm 24 and I'm not millionaire. And she got immediately sad and down to herself. I would just like to end this podcast with your advice to all young entrepreneurs who are on their journey to create success. How do they keep positive? How do they keep being optimistic and to expect positive outcomes, even though that they may sometimes delay and happen later than we expect?
Well, you know as well as I do that the greatest billionaires in the world have gone bankrupt at least 3 or 4 times.
Absolutely. Some of them were even on this podcast, like David Meltzer. He used to make $150 million, lost it everything, and again, keep making it. So,
Well,
yeah,
that's it. Look at loss as a chance to learn. You don't say, "Oh my God, I'm finished. I'm going to hang myself." People did that in 1929. There was a thing called the Great Depression in America. People jumped out of the windows. What for? You lost your money. Start all over. Like these other billionaires. I mean, Trump must have been in what is it called, bankruptcy. Every one of them. So look at every loss as a lesson to be learned, to get to know there's only 2 things left in life: love and joy. All the rest is bullshit. I don't know what success is. I have absolutely no intention to succeed. I just love what I do. And you can hate this podcast or you can love it. I have no control. I only have control of myself. What do I learn today? What do I take from this today? How do I become wiser today? How do I become more loving today? How do I have more fun today? You're going to lose because nothing works. Nothing works. Whatever you do, you're not going to succeed. You're going to fall. Just know that ahead of time and do it again. And you fall again. And know it's not the end of the world. Because one day, it's like a kid trying to learn a bike. He's riding the bike and he falls. He's not going to hang himself. He gets back on the bike.
absolutely. Over and over again. And that's actually very beautiful, Lenny. Thank you so much. Thank you for being my guest here, and thank you for all your wisdom and all your advices which you share with us today.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure working with you. It's been a pleasure watching your face change color. It's been fun laughing with you, and
Absolutely.
I really appreciate your inviting me to be with you today.
Pleasure is mine, Lenny. Thank you so much.
Thank you.